In this video, we explore the disturbing story of a couple who appeared perfect to everyone around them. It was a quiet night in Bournemouth on England's south coast. But behind the doors of a suburban home, tensions reached a breaking point. What began as a heated argument quickly spiraled into a far more disturbing display of rage, jealousy, and violence. In the hours that followed, a young life filled with promise was ended forever. Within those walls were hidden truths and long-buried secrets that would soon devastate a family, divide a community, and reveal the horror of love turned poisonous. At the heart of it all was Emily Langley, a bright and beautiful young woman with her entire future ahead of her. What happened in that room that night would not only end her life, but also trigger a search for answers that uncovered a tale of control, betrayal, and a desperate pursuit of justice. Emily Langley was born on February 22, 1994, in London to her parents, Mark and Caroline Langley. From the very beginning, she was surrounded by love and affection. Any doubts Mark had disappeared the moment he held his newborn daughter in his arms. He felt proud, joyful, and newly driven, as if his life finally had clear meaning. Emily was born with soft blonde hair and bright blue eyes, embodying her parents' hopes for the future. Her early childhood was modest but deeply cherished, filled with bedtime stories, family outings, and small routines that anchored her to home. She was curious, lively, and quick to smile, known to others as an energetic child who brought warmth to her family. To them, she was everything. Yet, even during those happy early years, concerns about her health began to surface. Emily suffered from recurring breathing issues, and doctors warned that London's polluted air could worsen her condition. At that point, Mark and Caroline were faced with a difficult decision. Remaining in London meant staying close to family, familiarity, and stability, but it also meant risking Emily's health. The alternative was daunting, leaving everything behind and moving across the world in search of a better home, cleaner air, and more open space. While Emily was still very young, her parents made their choice. They decided to leave London and begin a new life in New Zealand. It was not a decision taken lightly. They said goodbye to grandparents, friends, and the familiar streets of their city. With heavy hearts but firm determination, the family traveled across continents, united by the goal of giving their daughter the healthiest and brightest future possible. New Zealand became Emily's new home, offering wide open spaces and a slower pace of life. The transition was daunting at first, but Emily showed the resilience that would later define her. She adapted quickly, made friends, excelled at school, and grew into a confident young woman. Teachers described her as intelligent and curious, the type of student who was never satisfied with simple answers. Emily always wanted more. Alongside her academic success, another side of her began to emerge. People started noticing her beauty and natural poise, first within her community and then beyond it. What began as a handful of small modeling jobs soon developed into regular photo shoots, magazine features, and runway appearances. Cameras were drawn to her fresh presence, confidence, and vibrant energy. By her late teens, she was balancing her studies while working toward a promising career in modeling. In 2009, Emily returned to England from New Zealand to complete her education. She stayed with her grandparents in Bournemouth, stepping into a world that was both thrilling and demanding in the lively coastal town. It was there, in late 2010, that she met Elliot Turner for the first time. They were introduced through mutual friends in bars and clubs popular with people their age. Elliot immediately drew attention, flashy and self-assured, eager to stand out. He carried himself with a confidence that was impossible to ignore and, at first glance, seemed to have everything someone might want. He was charismatic and full of energy, with a natural ability to draw attention. Emily found his charm hard to resist and was drawn to his intensity. He promised her love, loyalty, and excitement, and she fell for him quickly. From the outside, it appeared to be a typical whirlwind romance, passionate, exhilarating, and full of promise. But beneath Elliot's charm were far more troubling traits. What began as love soon shifted into anger. He struggled to focus, his mood swung unpredictably, and he felt a constant need to be in control. He monitored where Emily went, grew suspicious of the people around her, and reacted with anger whenever he sensed he was losing his hold on her. Emily's confidence, ambition, and independence were once what defined her, but Elliot's behavior slowly began to wear them down. Friends noticed the change. The vibrant young woman who had once seemed unstoppable became quieter and more guarded, while her partner's presence grew increasingly overbearing. Those close to her were alarmed, as the relationship no longer offered love or safety. Instead, it became one of fear and confinement. Elliot Turner's hold over her grew darker with each passing day. Despite Emily's efforts to remain strong and hold on to her spirit, his controlling behavior and violence continued to escalate. By May 2011, the situation reached a deadly turning point. Their arguments became frequent and explosive, fueled by his jealousy, suspicion, and obsession with control. Family and friends had noticed warning signs in Emily and Elliot's relationship, but nothing could have truly prepared them for the horrific events that were about to unfold. On the evening of May 7th, Emily went to Elliot's home in Bournemouth, unaware that it would be the last night of her life. Tension had already been simmering between them, and as the evening progressed, the atmosphere inside the Turner household grew increasingly volatile and hostile. What began as a verbal disagreement quickly escalated. Harsh words turned into shouting, and accusations were hurled back and forth as Elliot's anger spiraled out of control. In a moment of terrifying violence, he placed his hands around Emily's neck and began to strangle her in a blind rage. Emily, only 17, fought desperately to survive. Her screams echoed throughout the house as she struggled with all her strength, but tragically, her efforts were in vain, and she succumbed to his attack. Emily's throat had been constricted to the point that she could no longer breathe, her voice silenced, and her young life tragically cut short. By the time Elliot released his grip, she was already dead in his bedroom. But the horror did not end with her death. Instead of seeking help or showing even a trace of remorse, Elliot focused on covering up the crime he had committed. Over the following hours, he used his phone to send messages and manipulated his surroundings in an effort to make it appear as if nothing unusual had occurred. His parents, Lee and Anita Turner, soon became involved in a desperate attempt to shield their son from legal consequences. They helped erase incriminating texts and attempted to rewrite the timeline of events, all in a futile effort to obscure the truth of what had happened. It was Elliot's mother, Anita Turner, who eventually called the police. By the time paramedics arrived, Emily was unresponsive, and all attempts to revive her were tragically unsuccessful. From the very beginning, the scene raised serious questions. Her body bore marks that clearly did not appear to result from natural causes, prompting authorities to act immediately. The police arrived at the Turner residence to begin piecing together the events that had led to her death. At first, detectives were influenced by the story Elliot and his parents presented, claiming Emily's death had been sudden and unexpected. But doubts quickly arose. The injuries on her neck, the small punctures in her eyes, and other physical signs all indicated a violent struggle had taken place. As the investigation progressed, Elliot's account was revealed to be inconsistent, further confirming the detectives' suspicions that something far more sinister had occurred. As the investigation continued, it became clear that Elliot struggled to be truthful in interviews, and his account of what happened did not align with the forensic evidence. Another crucial piece of the puzzle emerged from digital records: text messages that Elliot and his parents had deleted. These messages revealed that, in the hours following Emily's death, their concern was not shock or grief, but attempts to destroy evidence and fabricate a story that might protect Elliot from being held accountable. The news was devastating for Mark and Caroline Langley. Their daughter, who had returned to England to pursue her studies and modeling career, had been murdered in a place where she should have felt safe. The cruel circumstances of her death were unbearable in themselves, but the fact that another family had actively tried to cover up her killer added a layer of betrayal and deepened their grief immeasurably. The people of Bournemouth were also shaken to their core. In a quiet suburban home, a bright and hopeful teenager had been brutally silenced, not by a stranger, but by someone she knew and had once believed loved her. Emily's death forced the community to confront the hidden dangers of toxic relationships, showing how unchecked control, jealousy, and obsession can escalate into deadly violence. As police investigated the aftermath of Emily's murder, it became clear that Elliot's parents, Anita and Lee Turner, were deeply involved. Court evidence later revealed that they actively assisted their son in covering up the crime. They deleted incriminating text messages from his phones, coached him on what to say, and fabricated a story designed to absolve him of responsibility for the horrific act he had committed. These actions didn't just hinder the investigation. They delayed the search for the truth. What should have been a straightforward path to holding Elliot accountable was complicated by his family's attempts to shield him, prolonging the process of justice and deepening the suffering of Emily's loved ones. From the very start, many questions surrounded the events of May 7, 2011, when Emily Langley lost her life. Initially, the explanation given by Elliot and his parents was vague and unconvincing. They claimed that Emily had died suddenly and without warning, but the evidence told a very different story. Her neck bore bruises, her eyes had small puncture marks, and other injuries indicated a violent struggle. This was not a natural death, it was the result of deliberate and brutal foul play. Emily had been strangled to death. Police quickly secured the scene and began collecting evidence, carefully documenting every detail. In the days that followed, investigators spoke with witnesses, examined digital records, and closely monitored Elliot's behavior. The picture that emerged was chilling. For months, Elliot had subjected Emily to controlling and jealous behavior. He made threats against her, monitored her every move, and erupted in rage whenever he sensed she was slipping out of his control. His behavior after Emily's death only raised more suspicion. Rather than showing grief or remorse, he appeared defensive, controlling, and at times openly defiant. Forensic evidence confirmed the police's suspicions. The bruising on Emily's throat, the cuts and scrapes on her body, and other signs of a violent struggle left no doubt about what had happened. She had been deliberately strangled in a fit of rage. By the summer of 2011, the legal process had caught up. Elliot Turner was formally charged with murder, while his parents faced charges for obstructing justice. The case was set to be heard at Winchester Crown Court and immediately drew widespread attention. Emily was a bright, beautiful young woman with her whole life ahead of her, and her murder at the hands of her boyfriend shocked and saddened people across the UK and her native New Zealand. In April 2012, less than a year after her death, the trial officially began. In court, every aspect of Emily's life, especially her final months, was carefully examined. The prosecution highlighted how Elliot's controlling behavior had escalated over time, how he became furious when she spoke to other men and repeatedly threatened to harm her. Witnesses described the volatility of their relationship, sharing how Emily had confided in them about her fears and the growing danger she faced. Digital evidence played a crucial role in the trial. Text messages between Elliot and Emily revealed the extent of the toxicity in their relationship, while the deleted messages from Elliot's parents showed the lengths they went to in order to conceal the truth. Prosecutors argued that these deletions were deliberate attempts to obstruct justice, hiding key evidence about Elliot's state of mind. The defense attempted to cast doubt by suggesting Elliot may not have intended to kill Emily, but the medical and forensic evidence left little room for uncertainty. Pathologists testified that Emily's injuries were consistent with strangulation, and the jury was presented with a detailed account of how she had died. The prosecution emphasized Elliot's past threats and his refusal to let Emily leave him, making it clear that her death was not an accident but a deliberate act. The courtroom was charged with emotion, as Emily's family and friends watched from the gallery, hearing vivid descriptions of her life, her character, and the tragic final moments she endured. Mark and Caroline, Emily's parents, were overwhelmed with grief, haunted by the loss of their daughter, yet they remained determined to see justice served. After weeks of testimony and reviewing evidence, the jury reached their verdict. In May 2012, Elliot Turner was found guilty of murdering Emily Langley and was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum of 16 years before he could be considered for parole. Anita and Lee Turner, Elliot's parents, were also convicted of obstructing justice. Their sentences were suspended, reflecting their role in deleting texts and attempting to shield their son from accountability. Emily's family endured immense pain throughout the trial until the verdict was finally delivered at Winchester Crown Court. Yet, her story did not end with the courtroom proceedings. Her death prompted a wider reflection on the dangers of abusive relationships and the devastating consequences of jealousy and control, affecting communities far beyond her family and friends. In both the UK and New Zealand, where Emily had spent much of her childhood, her death sparked widespread conversations about domestic abuse. Advocacy groups used her story to highlight the dangers of controlling and obsessive relationships. Police forces and organizations dedicated to preventing domestic violence emphasized the importance of recognizing early warning signs, such as jealousy disguised as affection, surveillance masquerading as care, and a gradual loss of freedom for the victim. Campaigners pointed out that Emily's tragedy was far from unique. It served as a stark example of how controlling behavior can escalate into deadly violence if left unchecked. In New Zealand, the response was one of deep sorrow. The fact that a young woman who had grown up there was murdered abroad captured significant media attention and ignited national discussions about relationship abuse and the measures needed to protect vulnerable individuals. Across the country, Emily's story became a powerful tool for protecting young people in relationships, helping families, schools, and communities recognize the warning signs of abuse. For many, her father, Mark Langley, emerged as a key figure in keeping her memory alive. Despite his profound grief, he dedicated himself to speaking out against domestic violence. Through interviews, public talks, and awareness campaigns, he emphasized the importance of breaking the silence so such tragedies can be prevented. His message was clear: Emily's death must not have been in vain. He hoped that by sharing her story, he could warn other children, siblings, and friends, protecting them from experiencing similar horrors. Her case also highlighted how society often overlooks or misses critical red flags in abusive relationships, underscoring the urgent need for vigilance and intervention. Later, friends admitted that they sensed something was wrong but didn't know how to act or intervene. Authorities recognized how difficult it can be to prove psychological control before it escalates into physical violence. The trial, however, highlighted the devastating consequences when such abuse goes unchecked. Emily's case inspired efforts to support survivors, educate young people about healthy relationships, and ensure that abusers are held accountable not only for physical violence but also for threats and coercion. Over time, Emily's name became a symbol of resilience and awareness. Her story has been shared in schools to educate students about abusive situations, and domestic violence campaigns have used her case to illustrate the dangers of silence and inaction. Although her life was tragically cut short, it sparked change and awareness. For her family, the pain of losing her remains, a constant reminder of the daughter, sister, and young woman they will never see again. Her father has often spoken about how every birthday and anniversary brings sharp reminders of the life Emily should have had, the milestones he should have celebrated with her, and the moments they will never share. Yet, amid this immense pain, he has found purpose. He channels his grief into action, ensuring that Emily's story continues to resonate far beyond the courtroom, beyond Bournemouth, and across the world. Today, Emily is remembered not only as a victim of a terrible crime, but also as a young woman whose tragic death sparked vital conversations that could help save other lives. Her story serves as a powerful reminder to recognize all forms of abuse, emotional, mental, and physical, and to take action before they escalate. Though her laughter no longer fills her family's home, her voice lives on through those who continue to share her story and honor her memory. Emily leaves behind a legacy that shatters silence, warns against complacency, and demands a world where love is never mistaken for possession. A world where safety, respect, and dignity are non-negotiable. Though her life was tragically cut short, her spirit continues to inspire people to take positive action. Her story reminds us that grief can fuel strength, and that loss can ignite a powerful desire to protect and help others. If you found this case fascinating, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We post crime case videos every night. Until next time, stay sharp, stay vigilant.